Ran-Joo, a 29-year-old radio host, is a strikingly beautiful woman, popular among men. However, she doesn't believe in love due to her parents' divorce and their subsequent involvement with terrible partners. Because of this, she prefers not to engage in serious relationships, opting instead for casual outings and fun. Ran-Joo has a friend named Young, to whom she confides that she has a blind date that evening with a 35-year-old lawyer. As the night unfolds, Ran-Joo arrives at the date, only to be surprised by how young the lawyer appears. Suspicious that he might not be the man she was supposed to meet, she takes him to her friend's restaurant and, deliberately, chooses an expensive drink. This prompts the young man to admit that he is not the lawyer who had an emergency, but came in his place. He reveals his real name is Joon-Young. In the end, Ran-Joo decides to set aside her annoyance and continue the date, and they start drinking together. However, they drink so much that they end up at a hotel. The next day, Ran-Joo tries to recall what happened but can't, so she decides to forget about it. Later at work, she receives a call from Joon-Young, who happily says he was worried she had given him a fake number. She, however, quickly hangs up, as she has no intention of getting involved with a man 5 years younger. A few days later, during her radio show, Ran-Joo interviews a lawyer named Kim. At the end of the interview, he invites her to dinner, but she declines. Hours later, Ran-Joo goes to her friend's restaurant and begins to recount everything when she suddenly sees Joon-Young. Shocked, she accidentally spits her drink in his face. Moments later, her friend informs her that she hired Joon-Young as a part-time employee. This displeases Ran-Joo, leading her to avoid the restaurant for a week. Eventually, she is forced to return to the restaurant to meet her friends. Upon seeing her, Joon-Young confesses that he missed her and then mentions that he's about to leave. However, before departing, he sweetly tells her that if she ever drinks too much and needs a driver, she can call him, which deeply moves Ran-Joo. The next day, Ran-Joo does her first live broadcast but suffers a nervous breakdown and faints. Later, feeling down, she receives a message from Joon-Young, who sings a song to cheer her up, lifting her spirits. Meanwhile, Young, Ran-Joo's friend, receives a visit from her ex-boyfriend, who had cheated on her. He brazenly asks to get back together. Hearing this, Young goes to the kitchen, grabs a bucket of ice, and dumps it on her ex, telling him never to contact her again. The following day, Young talks to Joon-Young, warning him not to break Ran-Joo's heart, otherwise, he'll face the consequences. Joon-Young, however, admits that he genuinely likes Ran-Joo and that his feelings for her are sincere. This is confirmed when, later, Joon-Young prepares lunches and takes them to Ran-Joo's office with a note of encouragement. Afraid she might be starting to fall for him, Ran-Joo confronts Joon-Young, asking why he's being so caring towards her. Hearing this, Joon-Young is about to confess his feelings, but Ran-Joo cuts him off, saying they'll talk later. Later that night, Ran-Joo goes to her friend's restaurant, intending for Joon-Young to see her with someone else, so he wouldn't get any false hopes about them. This, of course, makes Joon-Young sad. However, after dinner, her companion takes her to a hotel and invites her to spend the night, suggesting that if things go well, they might even get married. Naturally, this infuriates her. When Ran-Joo returns to the restaurant, Joon-Young sees her and asks if she came back because of him, which she doesn't deny. He then hugs her and confesses that he has liked her since the first time he saw her. Hearing this, Ran-Joo is about to respond, but, being so drunk, she ends up vomiting. Because of this, he takes her home and tells her that on the night they first met, she also vomited at the hotel, and he helped her before leaving. Upon hearing this, Ran-Joo asks if they spent the night together, to which Joon-Young replies that they did not, as he is not the kind of man who would touch a woman without her consent. Hearing this, Ran-Joo's heart races, and she kisses Joon-Young passionately. They spend the night together, and the next morning, they have breakfast, where he confesses that he wants to stay by her side and make her happy. This touches Ran-Joo's heart so deeply that she can't stop thinking about him all day. Later, Ran-Joo's friends organize a gathering where they drink with Joon-Young, and this time, it's Ran-Joo who takes him home. The next day, Ran-Joo goes to her yoga class, where her instructor tries to convince her to go on another blind date. Although Ran-Joo doesn't agree, she also doesn't clarify that she's seeing someone. One day, Joon-Young goes to Ran-Joo's house, and the two practice jujitsu together. Afterward, they have breakfast, and he asks if she will ever confess how she feels about him. Coldly, she responds that she won't. The next day, Ran-Joo goes to work, where she finds out that her show will be cancelled in a week, which makes her sad since no one told her beforehand. Despite this, she tries to appear fine. When Joon-Young finds out, he goes to see her, but knowing she's too proud to cry in front of others, he first takes her to a car wash so she can vent in peace. Once she's calmer, he takes her home. Since it was late and no buses were running, she invites him to stay the night, and they spend a sweet night together. The next morning, Ran-Joo wakes up with dark circles under her eyes from crying so much, but luckily, she had placed spoons in the freezer, which helps reduce the swelling. Seeing how much Joon-Young cares for her, Ran-Joo decides not to hide her feelings anymore and finally confesses that she really likes him. Overjoyed, Joon-Young draws closer, and the two seal their love with a kiss. That evening, Ran-Joo's final radio show is recorded, and with renewed energy, she bids farewell to her listeners. Afterward, she goes home, where Joon-Young is waiting with a kiss and a delicious dinner, making for a pleasant night for both of them. As the days pass, Ran-Joo gathers her courage and decides to face her fear of being on camera, so she auditions to become a television host. Although she initially feels nervous, she remembers Joon-Young's encouraging words and manages to pass the test, fulfilling her dream of becoming a TV presenter. To celebrate her new job and their beautiful relationship, Ran-Joo has dinner with Joon-Young and her friends, bringing this story to a close.